The Farbrengen of Purim Tovshin Chof Ches was a long Farbrengen, like all the years Purim. And the Rebbe spoke about many, many things, obviously. And there was one thing that he mentioned, and it was obvious that it was Derech Hagav. Just by the way, he said something else, so he mentioned something for a few moments. But I spoke to Rabbi Groner the day after the Farbrengen, and he told me that the next day, the day after the Farbrengen, the Rebbe had asked him, did the Olam get the most important part of the Farbrengen? And then the Rebbe explained to him what was the most important part of the Farbrengen. I don't know if he asked the Rebbe what it is, or the Rebbe himself, after he told him, did the Olam get the most important part of the Farbrengen? And right away the Rebbe told him what the most important part was. And what the Rebbe said to him was that part that seemed to be, for a few moments only, Derech Hagav, by the way, that the Rebbe said was the most important part of the Farbrengen. And I'll say what that was. The Rebbe mentioned something that his Zayde, his mother's father, who was Rabbi Meir Shlomo Yanovsky, what he said. And when the Rebbe mentioned what he said, the Rebbe described who he was. So what the things that the Rebbe said about him was that after his chasana, he was from the Yeshvim by the Rebbe Marash. Yeshvim means where people would come and sit there, being that there was no official yeshiva of Timchat Mimim, but there would be Yingalaita would come there and spend a few months, a half a year by the Rebbe after their chasana. So the Rebbe Zayde was from the Yeshvim by the Rebbe Marash. So when the Rebbe mentioned that he was from the Yeshvim Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe said, by the way, this is how things used to be after a person got married. But now the Seder is different. Now after the chasana, you go to a honeymoon. The Rebbe used the word honeymoon. Then the Rebbe said, halavai, they would be mavatal this bad minig, because it brings to many mechshelim and many inyonim. And it's a big wonder that nobody thinks about it. All the kilkulim are the problems that this could bring when a young pair, right after the chasana, go without knowing a din, without having a shemer, etc., etc. And they put themselves into very, very great tests. Even if they go to a place where you have all kinds of yonim of kashrus and Yiddishkeit, and you have a kosher mikveh, and they know everything, and they're not embarrassed, etc., etc. Even then it's a problem. Certainly the way it's done nowadays, that they don't go dafke to the Bahamas, and dafke to Miami Beach, and dafke in place where there is no kosher mikveh, etc., etc. And they go right after the Sheva Brochas at the Shivas Miyamishte, and the Mahadim and Amhadim run away right away there right after the chuppah, and no one cares about it. Then the Rebbe said, now we're talking in a Zman of Simcha, since it was Purim, so the Rebbe said, but the Seder used to be, went back to the good part, that the Seder used to be, that after the Chasana, they used to go for a few months to learn by the Rebbe, and he said, that's how my grandfather was, that right after his Chasana, he went for 6 months or for a year, and he was amongst the Yeshvim of the Rebbe Marash. And then the Rebbe went on to say over the word that he said from the Rebbe, from his Zayde. But the main point I'm trying to make is that out of the whole Farbrengen, with all the different biurim and inyonim that the Rebbe said, he said that the main point of the Farbrengen was this little thing that he said, which only took a few moments, and this was seemingly a dover, something that was, by the way, by the Rebbe, this was the most important part of the. And in the next voice note, I'm going to explain what was the word that he said in the name of his Zayd.